Welcome back to the Scott Jennings Show, Common Sense for the American People here on Friday, December the 19th. Coming up in just a moment, my guest for Friday Punditry is Emily Jashinsky. She's a journalist and a commentator. I recently met Emily. I think you're really going to like her. I wanted to have her on my show because I did her show, and she's just a delight. And she's coming up on the other side of this special message from our friends at the Angel Tree Campaign. Listen, we have 6 days until Christmas. Yesterday, I told you I was going to do it again, and I did it. I've now made two contributions to the Angel Tree Campaign because I believe in this so much. When you donate $30 to the Angel Tree Campaign, you're changing a child's Christmas for the better. These children have a mom or a dad in prison, and for them, Christmas time is full of anxiety and uncertainty. You can change all of that. Now, listen, we're in a tight economy. Everybody knows that. But this Angel Tree program is reaching into people's hearts all over the country to, here at the last minute before Christmas, really make a difference in a child's life. I want you to listen to Michelle Payette. She works at the Prison Fellowship, which runs the Angel Tree campaign. Listen to what she has to say.
Angel Tree is about the family and helping to grow God's kingdom. We're out there being the hands and feet of Jesus, shining a light into the darkest parts of our neighborhoods, of our communities, by bringing the light of Jesus Christ into their homes. And that's what makes the difference. You're actually connecting with a family that's in need of hope. And there's no hope like Christ.
All right, the countdown is on. 6 days until Christmas. But you can make a difference in the lives of these children when you support the Angel Tree campaign. Here's how you do it. Go to scottjenningsshow.com. There's a banner up at the top of the screen. You can click on it and make your donation online. It takes seconds. It takes seconds. Or if you'd rather do it the old-fashioned way and call, here's the number, 888-206-2793. 888-206-2793. Or again, just go to scottjenningsshow.com and click on the banner at the top of the screen. Bless these children. They get a gift. They get a letter from mom or dad who's in prison. They get a Bible. You are bringing the light of Christ into the world of these children. And you know, they've had a rough life. They've got a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what the outcomes are going to be for them, but you can make a difference today. It's Scott Jennings on the Salem Radio Network. All right, special guest conversation here on Friday, December the 19th. My friend Emily Jashinsky is here. She's host of the After Party with Emily on YouTube. Emily, thank you so much for coming on the Scott Jennings Show.
Thank you for having me, Scott. I really appreciate it.
Now, we first met a few weeks ago. You had me on your thing and helped me do some book promotion. And thanks to your help, we made the New York Times bestseller list. So I'm very grateful for what we did that day. And I thought to myself that day, you're like one of the most interesting conservative commentators out there. What you're doing with this late night show live on YouTube, it's really sort of pioneering, I think, in the space for conservatives and for conservative women. So I want to start this conversation by having you tell us what gave you the idea to do a late night conservative commentary show on YouTube. You know, where did you start and where are you today? I assume you've had massive growth in this because of how interesting it is.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for coming on. And people should know it's very actually difficult to make the New York Times bestseller list if you're on the right, because it's not just based on the metrics. So that's a huge accomplishment. Congratulations, Scott. And it's, you know, I can't take all the credit for the late night format idea because Megyn Kelly's great team, her wonderful executive producer, Steve Krakauer, and I, when we were brainstorming, kind of landed on that together, that maybe it would be fun as people are moving over towards the digital format for shows to try something that's not just your typical news podcast on YouTube, but is live, first of all, and second of all, in the late night hour. So it can be after the news cycle. And that's kind of where the After Party name came from. Now, of course, as you and I both know, the news cycles these days are not always over by 10 p.m. when we go live. But generally, you can be a little bit more relaxed and have some reaction to the news cycle rather than reaction during the news cycle. So you have a little bit more distance and can have a little bit more fun. And we're about 6 months in over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Everything's going well. So if people are interested in a little bit more relaxed format, we're on at 10 p.m. live, but also you can catch us afterwards on any podcast feed or on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what I love about it is, you're doing it live. So you're basically on YouTube competing with the other stuff going on at that hour, but then you can catch it later. And that's what sets, your situation apart. Somebody wants to watch it the next morning, they can. It's harder to do that with the traditional stuff that's out there. Do you consider yourself to be like a competitor to the 10 o'clock hour on, CNN or MSNBC or Fox or any of that?
What's funny is I think everyone is a competitor in a way. So yeah, I mean, I think of myself as someone who's on in that hour. Certainly would love to be an option for people who like watching live TV at 10 p.m. But in a way, like the ratings are down across the board in those places now from like 20 years ago because people can choose to watch any podcast. They could be watching this literally at 10 p.m. if they didn't catch it earlier in the day. So it's yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. And we do want to be an option. I love live TV, and I know you do too, Scott. I think there's something different about it. And so if you're the type of person that gravitates towards the live presentation, we want to be an option for you in the 10 p.m. hour.
I love live TV, but what I have increasingly learned is that it's best when it's unscripted.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think where cable has an issue is getting people out of the mindset of, okay, I have to look in the teleprompter and read the script. Like, to me, what we do at 10 o'clock on CNN with the Abby Phillips show, it's mostly unscripted. For me, it's unscripted. I have no teleprompter. I don't even know what she's going to say. Like, I have no idea. This is an authentic reaction. She still sets the thing up on a script on a teleprompter. But to me, the final frontier is kind of what you do, which is completely unscripted. It is a purely authentic conversation, and the authenticity in the news discussions, to me, that's where it's at. And I assume that's how you're getting feedback from your viewers, is that it's that authentic back and forth. And so people believe they're getting what's really in your heart. How are things hitting you at that moment? It's really kind of compelling.
Yeah, and I think part of that now, and again, this, is it's harder for people with good reason outside of DC, New York, LA to just trust the talking heads that they see pop up on television or on social media. And so part of it is just the transparency of the process. Like, people see my house behind me when I'm broadcasting, and you're really being much more authentic as you kind of work through things without a teleprompter in front of you, without really high production. It's just kind of more in the moment. And that, I do think, helps rebuild trust with people around the country who want to know the person behind the news delivery, because they want to have some sense of who you are, where you're coming from. They're smart. They can make up their own mind about what biases you may bring to the table. And then, they're just as smart as any journalist, probably mostly smarter than the majority of journalists, which I say as a journalist. So it's kind of, there's a humility to it too.
All right, that's Emily Jashinsky. She's from Wisconsin, by the way, the great state of Wisconsin. She hosts the After Party with Emily on YouTube, live on YouTube at 10 o'clock at night. All right, we got about 5 minutes here. I want to do some rapid fire punditry with you, Emily. First of all, Donald Trump, 11 months in, how do you rate it?
Predictable. I think he's undergone a revolution of the government by his own admission. Elon Musk, Stephen Miller have said similar, Russ Vought have said similar things. And so it's rocky right now. His base loves him. But a lot of the country is waiting to see how the tariffs post-Liberation Day shake out, how the bear hug of AI shakes out, how taxes shake out, how this foreign policy shakes out. So I think there's a tentative reaction from the public. They want to see more because they feel like the economy's not perfect and they expect it to be better.
You raise the AI issue. It's something that he and the tech companies are going to have to do. They're going to have to work on the PR for AI. I was talking to some politicians the other day about some of the polling on this. I mean, people are worried about this. I think there's a curiosity about it, but a real concern. I mean, is this going to take our job? How is this going to change our life? And everybody's barreling into this, sort of assuming that everybody agrees it's going to be great. But I think there's a lot of fear actually running through the electorate out there on exactly what AI means for your economic future, but also what does it mean for your information future? I mean, it's getting harder and harder to discern, what's going on out there. Is this real or is this not real? Do you use AI in your daily life? Are you using it in your show prep? Is it part of your matrix of preparation right now?
I'm actually really bad about using AI. I probably should be better about using it, but honestly, I use it sometimes for research when I think it's going to be tough to Google something. I think Grok can sometimes just dredge the internet better than a quick Google search. But a lot of journalists are doing kind of interesting stuff with AI. I think though that's why people are worried about AI is that they need to know, they want to have some sense of whether something is from an LLM or whether something is real, and it's making that. I mean, that was already hard before these LLMs debuted, and now it's even harder. Recent college graduates are looking at some of the highest unemployment in modern history. So the PR battle for AI is definitely gonna have to. They're gonna have to put a lot into it.
All right, Epstein files supposed to be released today. This was the deadline imposed in the bill that the Congress passed and Trump signed. Will we see files today? And what do you expect if we do see the files to find inside?
I think we'll see the files. I think we'll start. It'll be similar. I always use the JFK comparison. It's taken us more than 50 years, 60 years, and we're still just putting puzzle pieces together to get some type of picture of what happened. I think that's going to be the case with every Epstein file revelation from now for the next 50 years. We're always going to be just trying to put together pieces of a puzzle. So I'm glad to have more pieces. I don't think there's going to be any like radical transparency from this release.
All right, you talk to a lot of people, you interview a lot of people. Who's the most interesting person in American politics today?
Ooh, that is a really good question. Scott, I don't know. There's so many options. I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. Uh, you know, Maybe I'll go with a publication. So Compact Magazine has this massively viral piece right now on the lost generation of millennial men.
Oh,
The
I
vice
saw that.
president posted it. Right, it's going everywhere. I think Compact is one of the most. They publish people sort of on the far left, the center, the right, and they're really long and thoughtful pieces. So I'll go with a publication, Compact Magazine, kind of questioning classical liberalism, but from a sympathetic vantage point to classical liberalism. And I like that. I think it's going in interesting ways.
That voice you're hearing today, Emily Jashinsky, she is the host of After Party with Emily. You watch it on YouTube. It comes on at 10 o'clock at night. It's one of the most interesting political commentary shows out there. We'll have more with Emily in just a moment. I do want to bring you a word from our friends at Relief Factor. You know, we're using Relief Factor in the Jennings household. That includes me. That includes my dad. You know, my dad, interesting guy, blue collar guy, worked his whole life. And when we started doing Relief Factor, he said, I want in on this. So I give it to my dad. And, you know, he's no spring chicken, but he might as well be now. He's hopping around like one. So the experience in the Jennings household, for me, for my dad, now my mom is interested in it. It's been really, really good. I think it could change your life, to be honest with you. Give it a try. 3 weeks. They have this thing called the Quick Start. It's $19.95. You take it. I'm going to guess you're going to stay with it. Here's how you get it. You go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or you call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4, relief. Try out our friends at Relief Factor. If you're living with everyday pain and you want to try something out here and see if you can get your life back, my bet is Relief Factor just might be for you. More with Emily Jashinsky in just a moment. I'm Scott Jennings here on the Salem Radio Network. All right, coming down the home stretch of the Scott Jennings Show here on Friday, December the 19th. Special conversation today with my friend Emily Jashinsky. She's host of the After Party with Emily on YouTube. I really encourage you to check it out. Emily, let's do a little rapid fire punditry here. We'll respond to Erica Kirk. She gave a speech at AmFest, which is going on. This is the first AmFest since Charlie, of course, was tragically murdered earlier this year. And big news, Erica says we should all get behind J.D. Vance and make him the next president of the United States. Are you with Erica Kirk on this?
I'm very intrigued by J.D. Vance. It's a little early for me. I think this is huge, though, because that comes with the vast infrastructure of Turning Point USA and presumably the C4 arm of Turning Point USA. So this early, it reminds me of Marco Rubio saying to Vanity Fair in that splashy two-parter this week that if J.D. Vance runs, he's not running. So it does feel like a little bit of a lane being cleared here as we turn the pages to 2026.
Yeah, I saw that, and I think some people are going to run. I don't know who. I mean, I hear rumblings out there. It feels like somebody's going to run, but it would be really hard to take it away from J.D. Vance. If he and Trump are getting along, and the base loves Trump, and I believe both of those things will be true, it would just be shocking to me if somebody were able to stop J.D. Vance from getting the nomination. There was some polling this week, in fact, showing him pretty popular. He was +5 on his net faves out there. And looking pretty good, actually, in some head-to-heads against Democrats. So we'll see what the party wants to do. You covered a lot of stories this year, Emily. So for 2025, what was the wildest story of the year, political or otherwise, in your view, the wildest story of 2025?
I'm going to go with Pam Bondi's Bindergate. It was just from start to finish. That was what the last week of February. That one was a wild ride. We thought we were getting something interesting. Then it turned out to be a little bit of a stunt, and then we were getting all of this kind of intriguing palace intrigue details about how this particularly happened. And that set the tone, unfortunately, for one of the biggest narratives of the first year of the Trump administration continued on into the future. So that was a wild ride.
Yeah, that really was. And when you then put that with what we saw Susie Wiles say to Vanity Fair about that, I think she said, Bondi whiffed on this. I don't think she said that by accident. I think that was a message out there for people. But I do want to stay with Vanity Fair. To me, and I want to get your thoughts on this. The big scandal of this was not that Susie Wiles is a transparent, blunt, and candid person. I've always known that, and I think she's doing a great job. I thought the way they did the photos, man, they did the Trump people dirty on the photos, especially Caroline Leavitt. What did you make of the photo shoot there? And, look, here's my view. If you're a conservative and you want to deal with these people, that's fine. But know what you're getting into. People who are going to do everything they can do to make you look terrible. That's what they did with the photo spread, no?
Yeah, it completely, literally make you look terrible. They will pull out all the stops. It's actually a great metaphor for what they do in the writing, which is go through all of these different tweaks to make you sound as bad as possible, to frame it in a way that it's bad as possible. It is utterly predictable. This photographer has since been doing the rounds in media talking about, of course, I didn't retouch it. Well, it was edited in different ways to make them look as terrible as possible. That is, again, it's utterly predictable, but it's a great metaphor for what's happening in the writing as well. It's just a more visible example of what's happening in the writing because you can see them zooming in on the worst parts of you, upping the contrast in Caroline Leavitt's case. It's just ridiculous.
I was on CNN the other night with that Chris Whipple who did the interview. And of course, the White House is saying that he took a lot of things out of context. I asked him, are you going to release the tapes? Because that would be one way to answer that question. He said, well, it's not up to me. It's up to Vanity Fair. I said, well, isn't this the way to put this to bed? And to decide whether the Trump people are lying or not, to release the tapes? Well, that's not up to me. So he really sloughed it off. Well, we'll see I think they should release the tapes.
Yes.
I mean, he's got 10 or 11 hours of tapes with the White House chief of staff. All right, 30 seconds. One great prediction from Emily Jashinsky for 2026. Go.
Oh, man. Okay. I think it'll become increasingly obvious that people are going to get in J.D. Vance's camp. I think we're going to see an operation start for that presidential run in 2026, just based on these details over the last couple of days.
Mine is Maduro is going bye-bye. Goodbye, Maduro in Venezuela. I hope you enjoyed 2025 because 2026 ain't going to be so hot. Emily Jashinsky, host of the After Party with Emily. Find it on YouTube at 10 Eastern at night. You will not regret it. She's one of the coolest journalists and commentators out there. Emily, thanks for coming on the show. Thank all of you for listening today. We got great Christmas week programming, including a Christmas draft next week, which you don't want to miss. I'm Scott Jennings, Common Sense for the American People, and this is the Salem Radio Network.